Okay. It's really hard to tell you the best type of content to create because it really has to do with your goals. What's the goal of the channel? Okay. If the goal of the channel is purely wish lists for your game, then I would argue the best type of content is very, very entertaining devlogs. That's if you want wish lists for your game, then very entertaining devlogs. Being as funny and silly as possible, or very, very interesting with your content. Digging into what's really interesting about the creation of your game. One of the best documentaries is the Double Fine documentary about Broken Age. That documentary, I just got chills thinking about it. That documentary is so good. It's all on YouTube. It's very educational, yet it's super entertaining. It is so interesting. Now, you don't have to be stupid and silly and cringe to be entertaining. And I've learned this from experience. You can look at some of my content where I'm cringe because I'm trying to be funny and I'm just not funny. Instead, you can go the Double Fine route, which is there's just a ton of it's so interesting. And it may not be that you're a game developer, but you're just interested in how these games are made. The same is true with like the Lord of the Rings documentaries. I love those things. Okay? So if you're interested in wish lists, then you want to create entertaining content or just really interesting content. If selling game development, let's say courses or assets, and you want to make money that way, and right now we're purely talking financial here, okay? If you want to make money selling educational content or development resources, which a lot of you are probably thinking like, that's not that profitable, I'm going to ignore that. I want to make $1 million on a game. I don't really care about making a couple grand from resources. There's a secret, and the secret is that this one is actually probably going to be more profitable for you. And I know that that sounds weird, but the tools for the gold rush can often be more profitable than the gold rush itself. Okay. Now I participate in both. Okay, because I love both. I love teaching, but I also love making games. In fact, if you're a director of a game, you're actually kind of a teacher. Okay, so I actually teach as a director, but I also teach you guys. I love both. They're so much fun, so that's why I do both. Point being, if you're doing educational content, which again, it can be incredibly profitable, you want to create, well, the kind of content that will direct people to your educational content or your resources. And that is tutorials. Tutorials are great. Tutorials have long-term growth as opposed to short-term burst of virality. Okay, so if you make a tutorial, you might see very few views in the first 3-4 months. And then a year, maybe 6 months later, you look and you check the stats and you're like, whoa, I'm at 200,000 views for no reason. What happened? And that's just because slowly people are what? Searching for your videos. So search is a slow way to gain traction, but it works, okay? Now, if you're making educational content that you want to get a quick burst of views, then you're going to do like top 10 videos, right? And you guys see this happen all the time on my channel, like top 5 ways to make money as a game developer, top 5 ways to make a game in 6 days, top 5 ways, top 3 ways, or really clickbait headlines, right? So the thing about clickbait is it only works if you actually fulfill the promise. So you don't want to do some stupid clickbait title. You actually want to do a clickbait title that can be fulfilled, okay? And this has to do with 2 things. YouTube's algorithm cares the most about 2 things. Does anybody know what those 2 things are? YouTube's algorithm, and by the way, guys, I haven't fully mastered this, clearly. You know, I don't have hundreds of thousands of views all the time. But what does it care about the most? There's 2 things that the YouTube algorithm cares about the most. What is it? Okay, Nixon got one of them, retention. That's right. Chafin got the second one, click-through rate. That's right. Okay, retention, click-through rate, retention, click-through rate, retention, click-through rate. Drill that into your head. Okay? Now, it's actually not that complicated. If you guys wanted to make friends, if you really wanted to make a bunch of friends, and let's say you're in high school. Let's think about high school. If you want to make a bunch of friends, it's retention and click-through rate. Same thing. Okay? What do I mean? How you present yourself. Okay? Do you dress cool? Do you dress a certain style? What kind of clothes do you wear? How do you look? Do you have good hygiene? How do you smell? That's your thumbnail for your body. So people engage with you. Oh, this guy looks cool. This girl looks cool. They engage with you. They clicked. Now, are you actually who you look like? Right? That's retention. How long do they have a conversation with you? How many times do they want to come up to you afterwards and hang out with you? That's click-through rate. The YouTube algorithm is basically a person at this point. It's basically a real person. So when you're creating content, you need to be thinking, okay, if I need to create a really sweet outfit for this video. This video needs to look sweet with this thumbnail, with the title and the graphics. How do I get people to click? Then it's about, do they stick around? Has the front cover of my book been honest with the content of the book? And so if people are dropping off 30 seconds into the video, YouTube will not push your content, okay? So this comes back to what I was talking about earlier, which is tutorials and then just 10-minute dedicated uploads, okay, that are just topical. Whether it's like top 5 videos or my recent video, the harsh truths about game development, right? There are two primary ways that these users are going to be discovering your content. The first way is search. So they're going to treat YouTube like basically looking for tutorials. Okay, so your tutorials are found with search is what I'm saying. The other way is YouTube's going to push your video to a broader audience through the recommended tab or the browse tab. So tutorials don't really get pushed to people as much as the harsh truth about game development, because that's a really clickbait title, okay? So ultimately at the end of the day, if you're trying to think what kind of content should I create, what I do is I think about the end of the funnel, okay? If the end of the funnel is wish lists, then I need to be creating broad, fun, entertaining content for gamers. If the end of the funnel is students for an online course, or maybe game developers purchasing a resource or an asset pack, then you need to be creating content for those developers, right? And it can be tutorials. You just need to be okay with being patient because it's going to take 6 months. But if you need a quick burst of views for some reason, let's say, like this is especially true with sponsors. If you get a sponsorship deal and it's, let's say, a $3,000 deal, that sponsors want to get clicks and views and ultimately clicks in the description right away, okay? So a tutorial probably wouldn't be great for the sponsor. So instead you'd say, oh, we'll do a video about the top 3 tricks to beautiful artwork in my games, right? Because that's not going to be searched. That's just going to be pushed to browse really quickly, and you'll immediately get, like, let's say 10,000 views to justify the sponsor's expense. Does that make sense?